All right, I'm here with Ben. He's a Shopify entrepreneur. He runs Yo PrettyBoy.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah.
.com?
.com.
Awesome. Thanks for meeting me in Washington Park. This is a beautiful day. It's been rainy all week.
Terrible.
So like this is
I got
the first...
dumped on at the Yankees game on Sunday.
Yeah. This is like the first sunlight we've seen. So being from New Mexico, this is like great. All right, finally we get sun. So we're gonna play a little game and we're gonna talk a little bit about kind of just entrepreneurship.
Let's do it.
All right, sounds good.
Wait, what is the weather like in New Mexico? I should know that. Is it similar to Arizona, like super hot?
Yeah, it's just hot, man.
Okay.
It is like, basically, the sun's just always out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So we
It's
really...
a good problem to have probably most of the time, or feels good.
Yeah. It's great for growing chili.
Cool. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so you're gonna make the first move, and we'll get going.
All right, what's it called? The Queen's Gambit?
Yeah. All right, cool. I'm just gonna lean here a little bit. So tell me, like, how did like the entrepreneurial kind of spirit happen? I know that you said like you and your partner met in college, but I mean, were you kind of like already doing business things and I don't know, high school or college?
Yeah. Like I was saying when we just walked over here, the first thing I ever did was I started a lawn mowing company.
Yeah.
I think I was like 10 years old. It was when we moved to Lakewood from Maryland.
Okay.
My dad was super handy at the time and built me a wagon that I threw the lawnmower on, and I walked around the neighborhood and I just begged people to let me do their lawn mowing. And my neighbors around the corner, they had like a print shop and they made me business cards.
Oh, sweet.
So I had 100 business cards and 2 customers. But that allowed me to save up for my first catcher's mitt. So I played baseball when I was younger. And my parents were sweet. Like, I was an only child.
Yeah.
And my parents were, like, my dad was successful. He was a doctor. He was retired. I grew up with both parents the whole time.
Yeah.
My mom was successful in business. So even though my entire life I always had everything I needed, got a new car when I was 16, school paid for, like, super fortunate, very privileged. They were really, really good about just instilling that, like, you're going to play a role in this. Like, we have this, we're going to support you. But, like, if you know, my famous stories when I was a freshman in college, after freshman year, I called my mom. I was like, so what do I do after the meal plan? Like, do I use your credit card for, like, food? And she's like, that's hilarious. Absolutely not. You're not buying Chipotle every day on my credit card. So I had, like, a job there. And she goes, no, but I'll give you money. I'll give you $150 a month to go to the grocery store. And I'll teach you how to cook. So I'll send you recipes. And I think that was instilled at a young age. I was a caddy from 6th grade until halfway through high school. Worked for my uncle from 6th grade on. I've just always loved to work. And so then in college, my work-study program was I ran the business plan competition for the Center for Entrepreneurship. And I got, it was so cool. Got to meet.
What college is this now?
Ohio State.
Okay.
I met a lot of cool investors, a lot of people in the Columbus community that I learned how to read a business plan, write a business plan, score a business idea. And so I did that for 4 years, but simultaneously met my best friend in the world, which is my co-founder, and he played football there. And we were the kids that freshman year, we would be sitting around and have a couple beers and be like, what are we gonna start? Like, we have to start a company together at some point. So just instilled in a young age. I think, as you know, and I think anyone who does this, there's an itch for certain people. And you need everyone to make the world go round, but like some people are just like, usually they have problems with authority, or they get bored, or they move too fast. Just like they have that itch, and I've always had the itch, but like without Kevin, I wouldn't have done this at the time that we did. He was the one who kind of came up with the idea, and he's like very creative and could throw like a brand vision onto the idea to make it tangible. And so we started, it's 5 years now. 3 years selling, but 5 years now.
You went, I gotta go.
That's you, man.
All right. I'm gonna do a classic. A classic.
All right.
Classic opener. So tell me a little bit more about your partner. How did you guys end up meeting? I mean, he was playing football. What was the connection for you guys? Was you guys in the same program together?
Freshman year, high school football's massive in Ohio. I went to a Jesuit school in Cleveland. He went to a school that was like similar conference to like the Jesuit school down there. So we had a bunch of like mutual friends, like easy mutual friend connections from when we started in school. And so we met just like super early on, and we got like super stoked to hang out with each other, became best friends. We lived our senior year, we were living down the hallway from each other in the same apartment. And Yeah, just kind of like latched onto each other in a very genuine way. He's one of the most like, you know, it's kind of funny. I always say this, when you have a peer who can also, in a sort, be like a role model. Like Kevin's just like a really good, humble, chill guy, and I'm kind of like a very spastic, high energy. Like I need someone to balance me out. And so we're perfect complementary skill sets in the business. I do ops and numbers, and he does content and branding, and so like we just like fit together like a glove, which is sweet.
So how did like the idea for the business come about?
So COVID, and this is where it gets like really funny. I mean, we're seriously attached to the hip. We joke all the time that our fiancés have to share us with each other. I'm sure everyone knows that. Anyone who's doing a business.
Yeah. It's cool. You almost spend more time with them than your wife sometimes.
You do. Yeah. It's crazy, especially on the phone, which gets like really dangerous.
Right.
I moved out to LA to work in medical sales. Kevin graduated half a semester after me. I was like, dude, this company's awesome. They pay for you, come out to LA, train you for 7 months, full room and board, hotel, or in an apartment, whatever. And I was like, I think you should consider this. Like, I think this would be interesting. So he was like, all right, I'm gonna sign up for this training program. He got placed in Nashville. A year later, a spot opens up on my team. I just moved there, by the way.
Cool.
Spot opens up on my team. I was like, hey, come out here. So he comes out, takes that spot. We're now working on the same team, under the same manager, in the same sales territory, supporting each other. And COVID hits. And again, like without him, we wouldn't be doing this.
Right.
He goes, I'm gonna go home to Cincy. I ended up staying in LA. I was surfing all the time with my other roommate. He goes back to Cincy. He's like, I'm gonna take a how to start an e-com brand course. I was like, nice. Like, sounds super smart.
What was that course? Who was it by? Do you remember?
I want to say it was like the founder made course.
Okay.
And it was a good course.
Yeah.
And it got him dude, I think this was mind blowing, and you'll resonate with this.
Yeah.
Up until he took that course, I was like, anyone who wants to start a company, if you want to start a water bottle, you got to have a product and engineer on the team, industrial engineer.
Yeah.
And then you find out about like contract manufacturing. You're like, oh my God, like you can actually just come up with an idea and find someone to bring that idea to life.
Yeah.
So he found that out. He found some like marketing plans and how to do some like social media stuff. And again, business plan, which then I had kind of some experience in doing as well. But COVID hit, and the reason why we ended up on this, he has eczema. I used to have pretty bad acne. As a guy, you know, I think we're both pretty confident guys, and you know this as a guy, like, skin is that one thing that's really hard to control, and that can like ruin someone's confidence so easily. So Kevin's like 6'4". I always say he's got the inherent cool factor. Played football on a national championship team. Yeah. Really good looking dude. Yeah. But he has this eczema and this flare-ups that like he would hide makeup under his bathroom in college to go on a date or take a girl to a dance. And so we really connected with like this does have an emotional driver to people. Yeah. In a way that people connect with this, and people have really at times had a very difficult time, had that, so he has this eczema and that emotional connection to this, and what we found was like for guys, they go down the same journey with this stuff. They say, well, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna call my mom, my sister. And when they call their mom, their sister, they get this like 10-step routine. Yeah. No guy's gonna do that. And we started looking deeper into this. We go, well, why are there no high quality products that exist for guys?
So what was on the market? I mean, what were the alternatives?
Jack Black,
okay,
Kiehl's, Lumen is like really big in the online world, so you may have seen them. Huron, T. Hanley. So there was examples, but what we found was they had just replicated the female approach. They took the 5 products girls use, slapped male branding on it.
Oh, really?
Worse ingredients. Huh. And we did this extensive surveying, and we were like, what do guys actually want out of this? Do guys use this? Yes. What do they want out of this? Something super simple.
Yeah, dude, I mean, if it's more than one step, bro, like, even like beard oil for me is like almost too much sometimes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if something is like 2 steps, I'm not about it. My wife gets on to me. She's like, you need to put on lotion and do all this stuff, you know? And so like, I'm trying to be better about it. But it's again, like, I'm just sort of like brush my teeth, you know.
Do the basics.
Yeah.
But I think like, and we were talking about this with just like overall health trends. Guys now, and where the name PrettyBoy comes from, like, If you watch the NBA, you said you're a big NBA fan.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, dude, those guys show up to games looking like Kevin says all the time, like they're walking the Paris Fashion Week runway.
I mean, Westbrook,
like guys care.
Kuzma, those guys are like bringing it, you know?
Yeah,
for sure.
And so we knew that guys cared about their health.
Right.
We knew that guys who had skin concerns wanted to fix them. They were too self-conscious, didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so we found this white space, which basically is like really high quality products tailored to like men's skin.
Yeah.
Something that a clinical expert would look at and respect. It's that quality issue, and then focus on those characteristics. Very lightweight.
Yeah.
Blends in immediately. Doesn't feel like you're wearing anything.
Yeah, that's nice.
Super simple. And then we wanted to create like a lifestyle around it, like a brand.
How did you combat like the clinical side? I mean, you guys aren't doctors. I mean, but you have, I guess you said your father was a doctor. I mean,
totally unrelated. Psych guy.
Okay, psych doctor. Okay. So
he can tell me why I'm nuts. But,
so I mean, how'd you overcome that?
So again, I think learning about contract manufacturing, what we knew was we could do research on, and this is a sports analogy, like go back to the fundamentals.
Right.
A lot of ingredients that our competitors would use would be like, I always harp on this one, meadow foam sea oil. You know, you're like, this is like, it comes from the underside of a rock, it's super hippie, like that's cool, and that might resonate with some people.
Yeah.
We were like, if we want results, there's ingredients that have been used for decades in this industry.
Yeah.
What if we just combine them all into one product? Is that gonna work? And the dermatologists and the cosmetic chemists were like, yeah, that can work. It's gonna be more expensive, but it'll work. So then we just worked.
So it is a little more expensive what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. But then we worked with these dermatologists individually.
Yeah.
We've run some blind studies against other competitors, ingredient lists and stuff like that. And we knew we had a very foundationally strong product.
Yeah.
And you see that in our reviews and the before and afters.
Right.
And so now it's more about how do we harness the things that are going really well and find a way to capitalize on it and scale. But to answer the question like super simply, that we worked with clinical people. We just found out we didn't need to have one full time on the team to do something, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think like we live in a world now, well, you can outsource basically anything, you know, especially in Shopify brands, you can do a 3PL for all your shipping, you can outsource product development, you can find experts you can find the same factories of the big brands with a Google search. Yeah. Right? So it's like the moat is a little less now. And it definitely like comes down, obviously it's a story, but like talk to me like the branding, the naming, like, okay, you guys had all your ducks in order, like how did kind of everything kind of come about, you know, before launching your Shopify store live? Like what was the process behind kind of the brand and storytelling behind it?
So the name comes from 10 years ago in Ohio, if you got called a pretty boy, like, it's not a compliment. Kevin was the guy who during high school football was rocking visor, spatted cleats, armbands, and his coach used to call him a pretty boy. And our first initial name that we had workshopped was Cure, K-U-R-E. I mean, if you're going startup, you got to just change one letter and do the short word. And we were like, okay, check. Is that exciting? And for us, it wasn't creating the pop we wanted. We knew we were going into an industry that was like, there were stereotypes, you know, it's only for girls, it's only for, like, only gay dudes do skincare. And we knew we had to change that so we wanted to have this inflammatory name, something that was catchy, really pops on a shelf. That was the color palette. And I think the story to start really rested heavily around like what our founder journey was, not only with the business, but also with the experience we had and feeling comfortable within our own skin. Right. Showing it in a way that guys would resonate with. We do a lot of active lifestyles and health and wellness kind of messaging and sports like analogies and pop culture, so like guys can be like, oh, all right, like I see how this incorporates into my normal daily life. And from there, before launching, it was just like one thing we're really big on is just talk to your customers.
Yes. Huge believer in that.
Just talk to them. So we launched this survey, from there, we were able to really hone in on what these guys wanted, what they wanted to see out of the brand, what they expected out of the product. Again, simplicity, results, and like just like a cool factor. Like they wanted something they were proud to put on their countertop. Yeah. And started the early way as people do. Kevin's great on camera, so filming videos, filming our backstory. People love being a part of what you're building, and tying it to the real people behind it. It's something you're so good at with what you do at Fresh. It's like, but I think it's an area that we need to double down on even more now, because it's, you know, once you get past some of those initial steps, how do you create the lasting connection? And we get these amazing reviews, amazing emails. I have one that we got the other day that I was like, this is mind-blowing, that people are willing to reach out to us and say this. So how do we create this real community feel that is happening right now within our brand, and do so in a way that's super engaging to other people, communicates our values and our message, but like creates an ecosystem, you know?
Talk to me about your first Shopify sale. Like, did you hear the cha-ching?
I don't even want to go back to that day because I developed the worst OCD. I was checking that app every 15 seconds, I think, at one point. But yeah, go on. Yes, that first cha-ching was like the best moment ever.
I mean, how'd you guys get that cha-ching? Like, were you running Facebook ads? Did you have an email list? Like, what were you guys doing?
So the first sale is obviously friends and family. That's just called me. So the first cha-ching was someone we knew.
Test it out, right?
Test it out. Kevin was super good early on. Again, I mean, he does like so much of our marketing, and he was the one who laid out very clearly early on, like what he's learned, what needs to be done, what good businesses do.
Right.
Started running Facebook ads pretty early on. He was making all the statics in Canva, selfie record. Our best video to date, second best video to date is the first ad we ever, not the first ad we launched, the first video ad we launched.
Oh, nice.
And it's just him talking, doing some product comparisons.
I believe it, dude. I'm a big believer in that.
And from there, it was kind of, we did the email stuff. We started with all the like, hey, this is what you have to do to run an e-com brand. And so we started doing all that stuff in the right way. Email, SMS came soon after. We launched subscriptions pretty early. We knew that was going to be a big thing for us. But then it was just really doubling down on the advertising strategy, making the content. And that got us from $10,000 to, in our first year, we did $180,000, and that was all basically self-managed. And then you start to kind of catch on, and you go, oh man, like we're running out of inventory. I need to know my unit economics. I need to know how to forecast. I can't scale spend when I don't have the supply on the back end. And I think that's where that first, for us,
push and pull is
the
like
push
constant.
and pull. But it's also the first challenge you have. Like for us, it was inventory. Where you go, okay, I see how it all ties together. And I've got to find a way to make it all tie together in a way that's going to work. So that's where we started working with some kind of agency partners. We doubled down on our financial acumen. Started working with creators, trying to get more people involved in the brand. And then from there, it's kind of just been a slow, steady growth. We've had really strong, we grew 100% from the first year to the second year, and from the second year to the third year. And this year, we'll probably grow like 40, 50%. But it's always been a push and pull of cash, inventory, and just kind of keeping yourself lean, which obviously is a function of cash. You're a great storyteller.
Thank you.
What do you think are the elements of a great story that go into brand building?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And we're all trained to think in terms of content output, the end result. Like I was telling him about my photography journey. I have my opinion, but I want to hear yours first. Like, where do you start when your concern is how do I create a story that's engaging and replicable, and just like how do you start creating that story and know when to double down, and like what are the skills you develop or practice early on to get good at that and have the confidence?
It's gonna be a really boring answer. I can give you like the really cool creative answer, but like I believe in like starting off like with a message. Like it could be like a product pain point, right? So say it's acne and you guys have a solution for that, right? Or say you can't get this type of, chili because now you live in New York instead of New Mexico. And so like, we're solving that divide of, product and, pain and solution. But I really believe, like, just say you have a product, right? And you kind of have an idea of like the problem is trying to solve. So let's just get that off the table, right? Like, and I think it's literally like consistency. Like, I believe in like publishing every day.
Yeah.
I think most people don't publish enough.
Yeah.
And I believe in like publishing every day, because what happens is the market's going to respond positively or negatively, or just, you know, and I think like that publishing allows you to kind of find out more customer information. And I think that's where you kind of, it's a constant feedback loop of like, okay, how do we get more creative around this messaging, right? So like if it's a positive signal, right, which is why I'm a big believer in organic social, because that gives you so many like positive signals that are free. You know, a lot of times people just do paid acquisition and they just waste a lot of money. Whereas if you take the same strategy of posting all your creative on your organic social and just sort of looking back and like, hey, this reel had more likes and shares, or, you know, this one had, you know, more views. I think, you know, just kind of that consistency in publishing. I think people don't publish enough. Yeah. And I know that's not really like the sexy answer, but I want to give like the Shopify entrepreneur answer. Like,
no, I think that's
you know what I mean? Like
the real answer.
Yeah, it's like because I think like on going back to like the story side, it's like whatever you have the biggest conviction in, like obviously that's why you brought this product to market, you know? So like just double down on that is basically what I'm saying. Double down on what you believe and then, you know, kind of test it out.
Now that makes perfect sense, and I agree. So like, but when you say that, there's this element in the world we live in where people come to expect certain types of content, and content kind of has to be aligned with the other kind of brand components or visuals that you show.
Yeah, man, I push back hard on that.
Okay, so let me tell me why. I want to hear that. So let me make my point really clear. I think you get it, because this is a hot topic with this space. Lo-fi versus high production. Does the message matter more, or does the content shown matter more? What elements of content and style and theme? So like when you say that, I'm genuinely so curious.
Yeah, I mean, I owned a creative agency since 2011. I've worked with like hospitals, universities, Virgin Galactic, so I get the whole brand side and brand guidelines and like, you know, staying within a certain message. But I've just kind of seen it played out over and over, you know, with kind of my brands, where it's just when I kind of show up in a genuine way, it's when I've had the most success. You know, and a lot of times people just want to see the heart behind the brand, and I don't think that's shown enough. Like, people are like, they don't even want to be the face of it, so I get that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't necessarily have to be the face of it, but just getting, you know, genuine responses, being a little bit more heartfelt. I think that's where a lot of people believe, like, you know, investing in high level creative or post-it note creative or whatever you want to call it, right? Like all that's fine. It's good creative testing, but I don't think anything ever beats a genuine message. That's really heartfelt. And I think that moves the needle more for brands. I really love the quote by Nicolas Cage, like, I respect the dollar, you know, like, just, you know, you got to have cash flow. You got to stay in the game. That's so important. And so, I'm a big believer. Like, if that's what you're doing, that's cool. But you know, I think for the people who are trying to build brands, you know, who are really trying to build something over kind of 5 to 10 years, then it's just letting people know the heart behind what you're doing, and kind of knowing the, you know, the problem that you're trying to solve. And I know that doesn't apply to everyone, but I think for me, I'm obviously biased because I can only do things that I really believe in. And I think that's always kind of resonated with people, like kind of the mission of like why we're doing certain things. So my first Shopify brand, we were committed to paying off the debt for all the families on the reduced lunch program. And in 2020, we paid off the debt for all the families on the reduced lunch program.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, so buy a shirt, give a lunch, change your community was our message.
That's amazing.
And we did that.
The way I and Kevin, we look at this is like, this is in a sense like our ticket it's easy to get greedy with that ticket sometimes.
Right.
But when you stay true to why you started it, which for us, like one, we started it because of our actual problem. We wanted to make a product that worked for us, but then we wanted to help other people.
Right.
But there was also this deeper meaning. I joke about this where it's like, yeah, man, like I started a business so that like my future family's taken care of. Like I started a business because I was done working for somebody else.
Yeah.
Like you got to make enough money to do what you need.
Right.
Can't be too greedy so that you don't lose sight of what the overall mission is.
Right.
But if you like are only mission focused and that's not sustainable and scalable beyond a certain point, again, seasons of life, it's just everyone's going to be in this for different ways. And for me, what I'm in it for is like I want to have financial freedom. It's not something I've ever really had.
Right.
I want my wife, my soon-to-be wife, and our future kids to be taken care of and not spoiled in the same way I was. But I don't want anyone in my family to have to roll for pennies. Like that's, I'm sure you feel that on a very deep level, when you've lived it.
Yeah.
But to the question about like how do you define message, and that's a very insightful, like it's a philosophical answer versus
it is. And my point is this: it's all going to be about the story.
Yeah.
Like
it's the biggest moat that you can have.
Mm-hmm. The story is going to be so important. So I think we have to become more story focused in our approach. And to kind of really answer your question, we're helping people feel about it, part of a community. And, I think those are sort of the two foundational pillars for kind of like a lot of e-commerce.
You said posting consistency, finding that message, being genuine.
Yeah.
Put that into tactical plan.
Yeah.
Of someone who says, take our paid ads out of this, we're doing email, we're doing the right stuff.
I'll include the paid ads on this.
Okay.
This is kind of like what I talked about in the Fox Girl group yesterday. It's like people when they talk about blended ROAS, they always forget about organic social.
Yeah.
Like, no, like your paid and your organic should be like married together. And this is something where like, I have clients that I'm trying to teach this to, and because I practice it with Fresh Chili, but I find so many more efficient ads because of that. So I think like overall, it's about like having a strategy that complements email, paid, organic, and that's really where you're going to find the most efficiency as a brand, is when you kind of marry all those together.
But to that point, I agree completely, is like, the battle internally always, it's a cash thing, it's an ops thing, it's a capacity thing, is how to start. Brand is the one that can at times take the longest, maybe not, but it has the ability to take the longest to see those results. And how do you advise other brands and your own brands of how to start that investment, both in time and execution, and just to say like, we're committing to this and don't get overwhelmed by what needs to happen.
Yeah, I'm posting up I don't know if this is a coincidence, so don't take this as light, but Fresh Chili's up 76% over last year.
Yo, wow, yeah, crazy.
I also started posting 7 times a day on organic social this year.
Yeah.
I committed to but how do I do it? Every post is product education, testimonials, product visuals of how to use it, a video reel, behind the scenes of how it's made, and then we feature our community members and what we do. That's 7 posts a day. So I like a lot of people they don't know what to post, but again, if you have 10 products on your website, if you were to times that times 7, because you create 7 different types of messaging for that one product, now you have 70 posts. And I think a lot of people just have trouble
doing that,
understanding
that
kind of the content. I kind of hope to educate people a little bit behind that. But social media is it's so crazy. People's thumbs just go nonstop.
It's nuts.
And so you have to.
I literally feel my thumb gets sore sometimes.
Yeah, I benchmark us against Heinz and French's and Tabasco, and we're the only brand that has a net positive and likes. But you know how many pieces of content we posted last month?
Yeah, it's pretty
The last
crazy.
28 is 700 pieces of content.
It's absurd.
It's crazy.
And that's overwhelming, I think, to some people. But when you break it down the way you just did, of what just even goes into one piece, that can be extrapolated, that can be used, and
you know your product, you know your brand, you know your story. Now educate the world about it.
Yeah.
So.
But that stuff becomes fun, and I think so much of this, and I think one of the last things for me to end on with this is you got to find a way to celebrate the small wins.
Yeah.
And when you're learning a business, there's a lot of small wins, and they might not feel the most monumental in the moment.
Yeah.
But if you're getting better, it feels really good to get better.
Yeah.
I suck at email marketing, but I'm getting better. And it's fun. And like when you do the reps, it feels really good to learn a skill, dude. It just feels really good to learn a skill, and I think that's one thing that can get lost in the hyper growth phase, in the chasing numbers and metrics. But when you're just committed to learning a skill, it just feels really fulfilling and it's exciting. And small wins, they stack. You know, and that's where we're at right now. That's awesome. It's fun. It's a journey, though.
All right, man.
Appreciate you, man. This was fun, dude.